Guardian angels, a Gnostic idea. This is the 11th in our series on Gnosticism for today. Angels in Gnosticism aren't fuzzy cherubs. They actually come much closer to the conception of the poet Rilke when he said every angel is dangerous. So let's talk about that. Many kinds of beings have an angelic nature in Gnosticism. So the aeons that I've mentioned previously, they're kind of like gods, more or less. Bright figures up in the pleroma, the fullness, heaven, whatever. Those can take on the aspect of an angel. Sometimes the lower beings, the archons that try to keep us all asleep, can appear that way too. But there's a kinds of Gnosticism in which each of us has a heavenly counterpart, an angelic counterpart, that, as we would say today, is our real self. And so part of the task of the knower, the Gnostic, is to rejoin ourselves, rejoin our soul with that spiritual self up in the wholeness. And there are stories about this. So I wanted to mention too that for a little bit of context, a lot of things in Gnosticism are about copies versus realities. So our cosmos is a copy of, and so on. All of it comes from the source, mystery, God, whatever term you prefer. And everything on down is emanated copies. Humanity itself is a copy of the anthropos, the divine form of humanity in the pleroma. So the idea that we live in a simulation, that our universe is a simulation, is actually a very Gnostic idea. If you brought a Gnostic forward to our time and gave them a scientific explanation, they would say, yeah, we said that like 2,000 years ago. So, and other esoteric systems have similar claims. You know, the very idea that life is sort of dreamlike and that one day we wake up from it is an idea found in many traditions, including Gnosticism. So anyway, according to these stories, these texts, you have a heavenly counterpart that you can talk to. And sometimes this heavenly counterpart shows up in your dreams. So I have a couple of examples. Long ago, I had a dream many years ago, before I studied Gnosticism actually, in which another version of me was standing directly in front of me, a few feet away. And in the dream, I looked at him and I said, oh, there's two of us. And he pointed downward like this, and I looked down and there was some kind of, it's hard to describe, like this flow of energy, for want of a better word, that overused word, coming from his chest, and it was like beams of light of some kind, and they were constituting me as though I were a hologram. And when I noticed this, he said, actually, there's only one of us. So that is a very Gnostic dream. Likewise, with some dreams Jung had with similar motifs where there would be a UFO or a yogi or somebody dreaming Jung, and he would interpret that as self dreams, self with a capital S, so the archetype of wholeness or totality. But again, if you brought a Gnostic forward, they'd go, oh, you're angel. So here's something you can actually play with a little bit. Before you go to sleep, ask your angel for a message. Just ask your higher self, what do you want to tell me? And see what happens. See what shows up in your dreams. Sometimes nothing does, or sometimes it shows up later. Or you'll be walking down the street and some random thing will happen and you'll go, that's the message. So see what happens.